What's happening, fam? It's the YouTube fam out there. We're gonna talk about a little something called vices. In some way, shape, or form, we all have them. We all have something that we're struggling with. In today's times, something that oftentimes can contribute and interfere with everyday life, with business, with relationships, with marriages. See, a lot of people develop these vices at a time in their life where things around them might not be going as they planned. You might have made some specific plans that didn't go the way you expected, didn't go the way you planned, didn't go the way you wanted. You started feeling down. And in these low moments, some people, a lot of people actually, might even go into a mind state of depression. You start feeling alone. And these things can come out of nowhere. you know, maybe the people you used to talk to and console and over the years, maybe they're not around anymore. You know, whether they're in jail, they're deceased, maybe you fell out with them for whatever reason, and they don't come around anymore. So now, what you feel and think, you start to feel like you're all alone. And then if you had plans and they go wrong, whatever, this and that. Around this point in time in your life is the most dangerous point in time in your life as far as developing a vice, which is nothing but a bad habit, basically. It's a bad habit, something that you know in your subconscious. You know it's not good for you. It's not really benefiting you to participate in this action, because it's an action. And this action can revolve around alcohol, drugs, sex. It can even be revolve around relationships and situations too. You can be addicted to a bad relationship and a bad situation. You can feed off of that situation and that relationship as if it was a drug. It gets you high in a different way. It's not a chemical, but your mind creates that chemical imbalance in the brain from the addiction of the situation. It can even be a person, an individual person. This person might be bad for you. This person might be somebody you need to get away from. But you can't do it because you're addicted. That being with that person, that relationship creates the dopamine in your brain, making you think you need to be with that person when you really don't. It's the same with drugs and alcohol. When you develop a dependency for them, and it's compounded with certain things in your life is going wrong, and maybe you're feeling alone, like you can't talk to anybody. Some people will turn to alcohol or drugs. That's their dopamine fix. That's sparked by the chemicals in that stuff. Now all of a sudden you have a vice that compounds your life because you're thinking that that moment in time that you're able to free your mind from whatever's got you down, whatever is making you feel depressed, that little bit of time, that euphoria, that high, whether chemical or emotionally dependent on the individual, that high that you feel, you start to get addicted to it. That's the vice that you have to learn how to break. No, vice is a negative pattern that you've become addicted to over time. We've all gone through things in our lives that might have made us depressed, depressed at a certain point in time. And you look for a way out, especially if it's a situation it's not something that's gonna go away overnight. It has to play itself out. The pattern has to eliminate itself over time because there's nothing that you can actually do about it. It's out of your hands. And that can lead you to seeking out a mental relief somewhere else. And for some people, that's, like I said, it's alcohol, it's drugs, it could be sex. But we have to learn how to break these negative patterns because whatever goals we have, you're never going to reach them if you allow your vices to become too strong to where you can't control them no longer. Now all of a sudden it goes from you just having a simple vice to something that's overpowering your life. It becomes the main point of your life. It becomes the focal point of your life. You don't want that. They say too much of anything can be bad for you. It can be unhealthy for you. Exercise is good for your health, but doing it to the extreme can also be bad for you. Look at people that have like a lot of people that have anorexia. That's anorexic. A lot of them like to work out a lot. From what I've seen, correct me if I'm wrong, work out all day, all the time. And they look in the mirror and they're basically a toothpick. But in their mind, they think they're fat, so they gotta work out more. They gotta work out more. That's when exercise turns from a benefit to a detriment. That's that person's vice, and that could be it's just something in their genetics. It might be my personal opinion. I don't know. If it runs in the family, maybe that person might suffer from that. It's still a vice though. Even if it runs in the family, it's still a vice. And you as an individual, you have to find a way to steer yourself out of that specific vice because right now it's ruining you. So you backtrack. Sometimes when you even if your vice is like a drug or alcohol, sometimes during the time that you're using it, you'll actually reflect and you'll actually think about, am I doing this too much? Is this interfering with what I need to do? Sometimes you need time alone to just think to yourself. Don't at that moment in time that you're by yourself thinking, do it without any drug, any alcohol. Just think. Is this is this helping me? My life and certain things have been going wrong. Maybe I need to do something different. Maybe I should do the opposite of what I've been doing and see what happens. Because sometimes that's all it takes. Create a different pattern that'll create a ripple effect, creating different circumstances because you're doing something different. Your approach is different. You're thinking differently. Sometimes that's all it takes to break a vice. Because once you start down that path and you start to see things around you unfolding differently than when they did when you were feeding that vice that you have, at that point in time, you know, this is my vice right here. This is what I need to work on. This is what I need to stray away from. Because when I stopped doing that, when I stopped seeing that person, when I stopped drinking that, things in my life started to become more positive. I started having a positive outcome and my goals and things I wanted to accomplish. So maybe this is the thing I need to steer away from. And sometimes that's all it takes. You have to be willing to do something different. And it's going to be uncomfortable because you're treading in uncharted waters. You've never tried it before. You've never done it before. You're so used to this pattern and doing things the same way you've always done. You start to get used to that, the negativity, the pitfalls of your life. Things go wrong, you attribute it to, well, that's just my luck. No, it's not just your luck. It's not just your luck. It's a pattern that you set in motion that you're feeding, and it's a negative pattern, which is the vice. So once you come to an understanding what the problem is in your life, at that point in time, you'll know how to do the opposite. You'll know what to pursue that is opposite of what you used to pursue, to mentally get you through certain situations in your life. So I say all that to say this. When it comes to vices, whether it's drugs, alcohol, relationships, an individual person or people who are a bad influence on you, they bring out the negative side of you, the worst characteristics of yourself. You have to reflect. You need time to yourself to think. If you're not getting the outcome that you desire, you have to make a conscious effort to do the opposite, the complete opposite of what you've been doing. Utilize new ideas that you never would have utilized before. Do things that you would have never done before. Take a leap of faith in the opposite direction. Now watch how much better you feel. That would be the epitome of creating your own good luck. Because things you're doing before, a lot of you might contribute to bad luck. Some of you say, it's kind of a funny saying, if I didn't have bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck at all. And tongue in cheek, it's kind of a funny statement, but a lot of people actually feel it that way. And I'm willing to bet a lot of those people have a vice that's contributing to that so-called bad luck. And for whatever reason, they're not willing to do the exact opposite, go in the opposite direction to see what happens, to see what kind of so-called luck will take place in their life. You have to be open, you have to be open-minded. And you have to be willing to do that in order to get to that, whatever your goal is in life, whatever you want to accomplish. If you're not going in that direction right now, and you want to be, and you know that you have a bad vice, bad habit, bad negative pattern that you partake in on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis, it's time to do the opposite. Try it, and you'll see. You can break these vices. Anyway, that's all I got for today. If you like my content, like, share, and subscribe. Support the channel. Cash App Cobra Clutch 357. Cash App Cobra Clutch 357. Support the channel. Like, share, and subscribe. And remember, your vice is like a parasite. Don't allow it to be stronger than you. Cut off the parasite. You are the master. Peace.